Amazing how Esau did not care about all the blessings and promises of God that goes along with that birthright. But in Genesis chapter 27, something happens. We see Rebekah, the mother of Jacob and Esau, deceiving Isaac, so that Isaac would bless Jacob. We saw how Isaac's favorite son was Esau and not Jacob, and he wanted Esau to get his blessings before he dies. He wants to fix the house and give the blessing. But the problem is the eyesight of Isaac was terrible. He couldn't barely see. So he told Esau, go out to the field and catch me some game, feed me, give me my stew, and I'll give you my blessing before I die. Unbeknown to Isaac, the wife was listening. Right? Ochesera, yung wife. And he heard, and we know that Rebekah's favorite son was not Esau, but Jacob, and told Jacob, hey Jacob, let's do this. Let's deceive your father. Dress up like Esau, wear his clothes, kill a calf, get the skin and put it in your skin so that your father will think it's Esau, because your father knows that Esau is hairy and you're not. And indeed, Jacob followed. Jacob did not care that he would be deceiving his father. He just wanted to please the mother. Jacob was a mama's boy. By this time, honestly, Jacob, all along when I hear this story, I would think that Jacob and Esau were in their what age would you think this story transpired? 18, 19, right? Or 20, 30? No. Jacob was 70. Huh? Mama's boy at the age of 70. Still not married. But the father is really old and about to die. So he made the stew, and we saw there Isaac wasn't sure. He keeps on asking, who are you? And Jacob lied to his teeth. I'm Esau, your son. Over and over, he keeps on asking, are you sure? Are you really Esau? Because you were so fast. I told you to hunt in the field, which normally takes 3 hours. You're back in 10. Something's wrong, but you say you're Esau. Come here, let me touch your skin. Something's strange because you made the stew, you feel like Esau, but your voice gives you away. You're Jacob. And I said, no, maybe Jacob and Rebekah was sweating, thinking that their cover-up would be exposed for the last time. Isaac asked, are you Esau? And Jacob replied, yes, I am. And indeed, Isaac ate the stew and blessed Jacob, all along thinking he was blessing Esau. After that blessing, lo and behold, Esau comes in, jolly and happy, thinking he's about to get his inheritance from his dad. In a good mood. Because we know Isaac was filthy rich. Why? Because we know Abraham was filthy rich. And we know all the material wealth of Abraham went exclusively to Isaac. So they're pretty rich. And Esau is about to be inherited with this blessing. Abraham asked, what's this? Who was this to? What's going on here? And Esau said, I'm your son, Esau. You told me to get the stew, right? Yes, but you were just here earlier. who deceived me. The heart of Isaac sank, and the heart of Esau sank. And Esau realized that he was being deceived again by Jacob. And he pleaded to his dad, "Dad, is there anything you can still give me? Kindly bless me even with one thing." As he said, "Anak, none. I have nothing to give. I gave it all already to Jacob." Esau said, "The days of my father is numbered. The moment my father dies, I will kill you." What a threat. What a family, right? He makes a threat to himself. I mean, he verbalized it in his mind, but eventually, Rebecca finds out. He finds out that Esau is hell-bent in killing Jacob. Again, mama to the rescue. The mom devised a plan. How can I protect Jacob? Now, go now to Genesis chapter 27. Don't worry, 28, but Genesis chapter 27 and the last verse, 46. Verse 46. Rebekah said to Isaac, "I'm tired of living because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob takes a wife from the daughters of Heth like this, from daughters of the land, what good will my life be to me?" Rebekah, trying to protect Jacob, tries to devise a plan for escape and tells Isaac, "You know what? I'm afraid for our son. He might marry somebody here. And if he marries somebody here, a Canaanite, what good is that?" Again, Rebekah is deceiving Isaac in giving him another reason than the real reason. The real reason is she wants Jacob to leave because Esau is about to kill him or wants to kill him. Right? So he gives an excuse. Isaac bites into the excuse. Verse 1 of Genesis chapter 28. So Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said to him, "You shall not take a wife from the daughters of the Canaanites or the Canaanites." It was the exact instruction of Abraham to his slave to find a wife not from this land but from his native land. Because what? They were afraid that if you marry into the wrong clan, it's assimilation. They would learn the pagan ways. You know, I realized something. One of the biggest threat to our relationship with God is our relationship with man. That's what they're trying to avoid here. Being unequally yoked. Because our relationship to man, I know I keep on telling my son Bambino, and in fact, I just talked to him again last night, and Santino. I told them, the most important decision you'll make in your life, apart from salvation, was who shall you marry. Sabi ko, anak, I'd rather you be poor and happily married than rich and in hell. Really? And I said, don't make the mistake of marrying the wrong person. Right? I was hammering that last night. And that was the concern. Because the moment you marry the wrong person, There's a movie on that, right? Sleeping with the Enemy. It's sleeping with the enemy. And that's what Isaac and Rebekah wants to avoid. That Jacob will marry into the Canaanites. A group that's known to be pagans who worships a lot of gods. Faith is normally challenged when we are persecuted or when we start accommodating. And what is one of the best ways in accommodation? Through marriage. People start compromising. That's why, like Abraham, Isaac, he says, go now, do not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. Verse 2. Arise, go to Padam Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and from there take for yourself a wife from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. Isaac doesn't again know the real reason why Rebekah is planting this idea to Isaac. And now, as Jacob was about to leave, following the instructions of the father, Isaac blessed Jacob. Verse 3. May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and multiply you, that you may become a company of people. May He also give you the blessings of Abraham, to you and to your descendants with you, that you may possess the land of your sojourning, which God gave to Abraham. Then Isaac sent Jacob away, and he went to Padam Aram to Laban, son of Bethuel, the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, the mother of Jacob and Esau. Basically, Isaac gave his blessings to Jacob, saying, don't marry into these Canaanites, go to our relatives. Laban, the sister of your mother. Right? Unbeknown to that, while while Isaac was blessing Jacob, Esau, the brother, was listening in. He heard the conversation. That's why in verse 6, we read, now Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Padam Aram to take for himself a wife from there. And that when he blessed him, he charged him, saying, you shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. And that Jacob had obeyed his father and his mother and had gone away to Padam Aram. So Esau saw the daughters of Canaan displease his father Isaac. We learned in earlier chapters that Esau married Canaanites. Not one, but two. And we read here, Esau never realized that it was wrong. It's only now that he realized that it was not proper for him to marry the Canaanites. Upon hearing the instruction of Isaac to Jacob. So what does he do? He says, okay, if that's what my dad wants, I'll marry a relative. Apparently, that's what that's what my dad wants. That I should not have married the Canaanites, but married somebody within our bloodline. So that's what happened in verse 9. And Esau went to Ishmael, which is the brother of Isaac, and married, and beside the wives that he had, Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth. Alright, I'll marry one of the descendants of Ishmael in order to please my dad. While that was happening, Jacob went on his journey. Verse 10. Then Jacob departed from Beersheba and went towards Haran. That distance is about 550 miles. Typically, that would take them about 1 month of travel. Try to imagine now yourself in the situation of Jacob. Behind you is Beersheba, where you just came. There behind you is a place wherein your brother lives. A brother who wants to kill you. And ahead of you is Haran. A place where your dad wants you to go to marry somebody from the line of Laban. A person that will make you into a labor camp. So in this situation, in the desert, what's behind him is somebody who wants to kill him, his brother. What's ahead of him is somebody who wants to enslave him, Laban. That's the situation of Jacob right now. He's trapped between a very difficult situation. If you think of it, Jacob was the least prepared in traveling this. His mind probably was full of fear, full of worries. Because the mom said last week, Anak, go first to Laban, lest your brother kills you here. Go away for a few days. When your brother cools off, I'll have you called. Not realizing that he'll never see his mom again. So he was wondering maybe in the desert, will I see my mom again? Will I ever get back home? Has all this deception, has all this trickery been worth the while? Because now, I'm left alone. Try to imagine this. He used to live in a huge house with a ton of slaves and servants and employees serving him. When he left, he was alone. It's like telling your kid, lumayas ka, leave this place with nothing to carry. And you're living in Forbes Park in the biggest house there. That's a scary thought. Because Abraham, Isaac had hundreds of employees trying to please them, trying to serve him. Now a change in condition. He was not to stay with friends. He was to travel alone without even one servant. He had everything that he ever wanted while living with his father Isaac and brother. Now he is left with nothing and dishonored. Probably the news has gone out that he was a deceiver. He was honorably discharged. Dishonorably, is that the word? Dishonorably discharged. He was fleeing the place in disgrace with nothing to show for it. And again, he's 70 years old. Pretty old. To start all over again. I mean, especially, he's a mama's boy. Listening to the mom. Always. Verse 11. He came to a certain place and spent the night there because the sun had set. And he took one of the stones of the place and put it on his head and lay down in that place. on that lengthy journey of 1 month, the Bible only picks one day, one incident to highlight. And it is this one night wherein Jacob had a dream. Under the stars, with a rock as his pillow, he fell asleep. In verse 12, he said, he had a dream. And behold, the ladder was set on the earth, and it stopped, reaching to the heavens, and behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. It's one of the most famous imagery we have. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham, and the God of Isaac, the land on which you lie. I will give it to you and to your descendants. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. And in you and your descendants shall all the families of the earth be blessed. So there, while he was asleep, he had a dream. He saw a ladder connecting earth and heavens, and he see angels coming up and down. Whatever that really means, no one is for sure what that is. But what is for sure is what God said, who was standing above. He gave the same promise. You will inherit this land. Your descendants will be numerous as the dust. And you will be a blessing to all the peoples of the earth. If you think of it, that's a great promise. It tells us no matter how badly we have been and acted in the past, however shameful our history might have been, God is always able to be with us where we are. If you look at it, nothing great has happened in the life of Jacob. All we see, this guy is full of deception and trickery. Yet despite that, God was blessing him. God can work in your life no matter what your past has been. It's not because of who you are that God blesses you. It's because of who God is. That's why God is blessing you. Is your past devastated by some traumatic sin and mistake that you have done? Have you done certain things that you think is irreversible or unforgivable? I mean, what Jacob did was so bad that the brother wants to kill him. And try to imagine what the dad feels towards him. I'm sure the dad also despises him. I mean, you fooled me. You lied to me through your teeth, claiming to be somebody that is not you, trying to gain something that's not yours. Yet beside all of those failures, God blesses him. That's an encouragement to us. Because I know that even though I don't know your past, I know there are a lot of things in the past that you are ashamed about. And that is dragging you down. Know this. God is willing to still work with you. No matter what your baggage are in life. Nothing causes God to give up on you. There is nothing that will tell God, no, I can't handle this anymore. He sinned way too much. Enough is enough. Despite that, God blesses him. But the problem is this. Yes, Lord, the blessings are great. I'll be a great nation. My descendants will be as numerous as the dust. Great. And my line will be a blessing through all the nation, which is implied what? The Messiah will come through my line. Lord, that's well and good. But that does not address my problem today. Somebody wants to kill me. And I'm alone here in the desert, gullible with the elements and gullible to any raiders who might desire to just abuse me, given my vulnerability. God, I'm extremely afraid. Because he was not used to being alone. He was not used in living his life with a death threat hanging on him. The death threat was so sure and certain that even the mom made a plan. You know, in my life, I never had that death threat. And I can imagine if I had that death threat. And there was no man, no person to protect me but my own. And I'm a mama's boy. How can I protect myself? Yes, you're telling me this great story, but Lord, I have another issue. I'm afraid. Terribly afraid. But God was not done yet. He says in verse 15, behold, I am with you. What a statement. And will keep you wherever you go. And will bring you back to this land. And I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. Jacob, you're afraid? Don't be. Because I am with you. El Shaddai is with you. I'm sure during that time he has all those who, what, where, when, how question in his mind. Who will help me? My future looks bleak. What if the few money that I have in my pocket runs out? What in the desert? What happens if my brother finds me or a friend of my brother sees me and tells my whereabouts of my brother? Where do I start? When will this all end, this nightmare? What's happening to my mom? Because I'm sure Isaac is terribly angry against Rebecca. We saw last week. Isaac and Rebecca is basically not talking to each other anymore. And do you think after Rebecca conniving with Jacob to deceive Isaac, Isaac would be pleased? What's happening with mom? The biggest security that we have in our life is not our parents. It's not our grandparents. It's not our business. It's not our job, our connection, our mind, our intellect, our money, our power, or position. Our biggest security in our life is God Himself. I am with you, and that is enough. In fact, that is more than enough. Why do we fear what we fear? Is not God with you? Romans 8:31 says, what shall we say to this? If God is for us, who can be against us? And the point there is this, because God is with us. And it does not mean that no one will be good. It does not mean that no one will be against us, but what that means is no one who is against us will overcome us. Because God is with us. That's why in verse 35 it says, who will separate us from the love of God? From the love of Christ? Will tribulation or distress, persecution, famine, nakedness, or peril, or sword? No matter who your enemies are, no matter what condition you're in, God is always on your side. Even if it's against sickness, God is on your side. And one of the things I watched recently was this mafia in America who Italian mafia lived in America, and drug money, and eventually a lot of people wanted to kill him. Even obviously the other cartels want to kill him. So he always had 2 bodyguards beside him. And one day, while eating in the restaurant, 3 men from the other cartel rushed into the restaurant, killed the Godfather. During the investigation, they found out that they used 5 guns. Meaning what? Even the 2 guards turned on him. God is not like that. He will never turn on us. He was and is will always be with us. Sometimes we sing that song, God with us, I am with you, as if it is a cliche. It is a cliche nowadays. But let this truth sink in, that God is with us and will always be for us. Note, God was saying this to Jacob, who does not deserve the protection of God. So far, what has Jacob shown that should merit God protecting him? Nothing. In fact, there's every reason why God should not be with him. But same is true with us. Right? God is with us not because we're good, but because He is our Father. He has adopted us into His family. So here, what is happening is God is willing to cast His lot on this man. Pumupos na siya. He's betting it. He said, all in. I'll stand by my man through thick and thin. I'll never give up on him. Never. That's like some marriage, right? Some marriage are like that. Oh, I had enough. I'll give up. Napuno na ako. That's what's great with the statements of God. I am with you. During that time, they believed that the other deities is with them if they live in that land. That's why different lands has different gods. The moment you leave that land, you leave the protection of that deity. So the protection of the deity is geographic. That's why there's a lot of Zorogods before. Different places dedicated to different gods. Now, once you're in that place, a different God protects you now. Now, you have to make your offerings there. The moment you leave that place, oh, that God is not with you. But not with Jehovah, Yahweh, El Shaddai. The great thing is there's nothing we can do to make God stop loving us and being with us. while we were still enemies, Christ died for us. While we were still enemies. While you were still detestable, depraved, Christ died for us. So what does it state? The story of the Bible is not really about Jacob, Abraham, Isaac. It's all about God. A good, loving God. Hebrews chapter 13 says, I will never desert you, nor will I ever forsake you. You know that word there, I will never leave you nor forsake you, is triple negative. I will never leave you, no, not ever, is the literal translation of that. No, not ever. Triple negative, meaning what? Talagang never. Is what it tried to pound. I will never, ever, ever leave you nor forsake you. Philippians 1:6 says, He who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it. And that's what God said to Jacob, until I have done what I have promised to you. God is faithful to complete. If it starts with God, it continues with God, and it ends with God. Why? It's all about God. And so when we study the Bible, when we read through the lives of these patriarchs, remember the focus is always on His goodness, on His kindness, despite the fallenness of men. Jacob had all the cause to be afraid. God said, don't, because I am with you. And that's true for us today. We might not know it. You might feel neglected, abandoned. People has turned on you. No one believes you. No one trusts you. But God says, no, I am with you. We are never alone when we are a child of God. And God appears here to Jacob to show His support to him, that he is not alone. He might feel alone, he might feel abandoned, but that is a misconception of the reality. Verse 16. Then Jacob awoke from sleep and said, surely the Lord is in this place. I did not know it. He realized, man, oh man, God is in this place. I have an encounter with Him. Verse 17, he was afraid and said, how awesome is this place. This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gates of heaven. This incident, this dream, was the first encounter of Jacob with Yahweh. All his knowledge about Yahweh is about what he learns about Yahweh from his grandfather Abraham and his father Isaac. But on a personal note, this was his first encounter with God. And he was overwhelmed because, quote unquote, he was face to face with God through the dreams. Now, I don't know with you, but the first time I was genuinely born again, isn't it an emotional high? You were burning, you were on fire, you're willing to climb the highest mountain, go to the deepest valleys without fear or favor. You're willing to turn away from your sin. You're willing to obey Him. Why? Because you've encountered God. And this euphoria is brought about by that experience. I said nga eh, no one has ever met God and is unchanged. There is a reality that one has encountered with God. So when Jacob woke up, he had that. I met God. He is in this place. This is the gates of heaven. Verse 18. So Jacob rose early in the morning and took the stone that he had put on his head and set it up as a pillar and poured oil on its top. He called the name of the place Bethel. However, previously, the name of the city has been Luz. Then Jacob made a vow saying, so basically, in verse 18 and 19, with all that euphoria, he said to himself, I want to worship God. I will change the name. I will put a stone. I will anoint it with oil. I will make this a holy place. Typical of any encounter with God. Lord, I'm willing to turn my back from sin. I'm willing to stop doing this. I plan to do the right thing. Then what happens? Everything fades away after some time. In the case of Jacob, it was way too fast. From that euphoria, he became pragmatic. Verse 20, we read, then Jacob made a vow saying, wait a minute, God. If God will be with me, because God said, I will be with you. If God will be with me and will keep me on this journey that I take, and will give me food to eat and garments to wear, and I return to my father's house in safety, then the Lord will be my God. Only then. He has to protect me in this journey. He must feed me. He must provide me with garments. He must return me to my father's house safely without any harm on me. Only then will I call him God. By the way, this stone, which I have set as a pillar, will be God's house, and all that you give me, I will surely give a tenth to you. Only if you give me those requirements. I have put up the church, but I will not worship first. Prove to me. What the hell? He's trying now to bargain with God again. He bargained with Esau and he got into trouble because of that. He bargained to say, okay, give me your birthright for a bowl of stew. This is delicious. This is good. Now he's bargaining with God. Wait, God. Before I worship you, provide me these things. After you provide me all of these things, I'll worship you and give tithes to you. But give me first the benefits up front. He was skeptical. After being awestruck, remember he just said, oh, this is the place of God. God has spoken to me. I have an encounter with God. I want to worship God. And wait a minute nga pala. Before I give it everything that I got, he demands, God, prove yourself to me. What a demand. What a turn of events. Again, it continues to show the character of Jacob. What kind of a person is he? How dare he even ask that of God? Jacob has taken the role of doing the testing. It was God who should test his faith. No. Not me, Lord. You prove yourself to be good. You prove yourself to be kind. You prove yourself to be loving. You prove yourself that you are able to protect me. Normally, when people make vows, it is the greater that should set the conditions. That's God. But here, the one who said it, it's like saying, Mr. Duterte, you have to prove yourself to be this. Wait. I'm the president. You're the janitor. I set the rules. But Jacob, again, he's misplaced. Now, think about it. How should God react? I mean, after all of these blunders, I still bless you. I see your fears. I now promise to protect you. I promise to be beside you. And that's all you need. And now you tell me this? How dare you? I mean, that's a normal, rational conclusion. How dare you ask that of me? Attempting to bargain with me? If you can't accept my word, bahala ka. It's up to you. Don't believe me. Who's forcing you? Right? That could be a normal response of any person who's reasonable. If you don't want to follow me, then don't. No one is forcing you. But don't tell me that I should serve you. Don't tell me that I have to prove to you. The thing is, we don't hear any of that from God. He doesn't even rebuke Jacob. Like a little boy making a tantrum. Amazing. Because to God, Jacob was a work in progress. He is in the process of sanctification. Again, there's nothing in Jacob that deserves God's attention. But God does not wait for people to arrive before He can use them. God is not looking for righteous, holy men. If you look at the lives of the 12 apostles, none of them are great. What made them great is God chose them to be used by God. Now, all of us, we might say, wow, what a terrible person Jacob is. After giving, I was just sharing yesterday. I was sharing, the best thing that God ever gave. If God gives you a big business but does not save you, doesn't matter. If God gives you 1,000,000 pesos every day but does not save you, doesn't matter. If God protects you and gives you a comfortable life without worry-free, yet you are not saved, doesn't matter. The best thing that God has given us is Himself. What more can we ask for? How dare we ask more? There's nothing God can give more. Because when He gives Himself, He gives the best. And He tells Jacob, I am with you. I will be with you wherever you go. And brothers and sisters, if that is not enough, nothing is enough. If you cannot be contented with God alone, then you'll never be contented in life. Because God is all. The Bible says, God has placed in us eternity in our hearts. What does that mean? Nothing material can cover that. Only something eternal. Only God can fill that void. in our life. So we wonder, what kind of person is Jacob? God gives him a blessing. Not only that, God gives him a promise. Yet what does he do? He demands a lot of things from God. For some of us, we look down on Jacob. Wow, I can't believe this guy. But before we condemn Jacob, we have to ask ourselves, are we not the same? Are we not the same with God? Because God has given us a lot of promises also. My God will meet all our needs according to His glorious riches in heaven. Philippians 4:19. The Lord is good, a refuge in times of trouble. He cares for those who trust Him. Nehemiah 1. Ask, it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened to you. Matthew 7. Surely I will be with you always to the very end of the age. Matthew 28. God has given us also promises. God has given us also blessings. But how many of us are willing to serve and worship Him? Oh Lord, I want material blessings first. Bless me. Make my life good. Then I will worship you. Then I will serve you. Lord, I hear your promises. I see your promises. I read your promises. But can you really fulfill all those promises? Can you really take me back to this promised land without being harmed? Will I really survive? Are we not the same? Unlike the godfather of Jacob, which is Abraham, who was willing to sacrifice his only son, believing that if he kills his son, God will raise him from the dead. Jacob, on the other hand, wanted the rewards first. Wanted to see things first before believing God. That's not faith. Faith is believing without seeing. It's faith before facts, not facts before faith. Are you waiting for God to prove Himself before you worship and serve Him? Is that what you're waiting for? That God proves Himself? That His Word is really the Word of God? That He is really true to His Word and promises? Are you waiting for facts before faith? Faith is taking God's Word at face value. So the question is this: is it facts before faith or faith before facts? There lies the difference between believing in God and disbelief. My desire is not to be like Jacob, who demands God to prove Himself before he worships, obeys, and serves God. And my desire is for us to be like Abraham, who's willing to take the step of faith even though it makes no sense. Because all he believes in is his God. That God is able and willing to fulfill all His promises. Thus says the Lord. Amen. For our last song.